Hello guys, welcome back. So here we are for another setup guide. This time we are in Silverstone because, well, we have a Silverstone race this weekend. At the time this is going to go up, you're probably going to see me live in Twitch, so link is below in the description. Follow me. You might be watching me live, throwing it around in Silverstone, so let's see. Straight away, let's have a look in the setup. That's usually where you kind of extract the pace around in Silverstone. In the dries, you can run 6-8. Transmission, I like to run it 90, 55 over here. You can run 100 in qualifying if you need a bit more bite out of the corners, let's say just a bit more push out of the car. Otherwise, in the race, 90 is pretty much perfect for me here. If the tires are really like worn, maybe you can drop it down to 85 or 80 as the tires are getting more and more worn. But generally you want to keep it 90 and above. Off throttle here, I keep it low because although it's a high speed circuit, there are a lot of slow speed corners where you need a lot of rotation, especially turn 3 turn 3 braking zone, and then the last chicane, right, last sector, the last braking zone, whatever that's called, I don't remember all the Silverstone corner names. So it's a few slow speed corners where you can actually gain a lot of time, easily 2 to 3 tenths if you nail the entry, mid corner and exit. So having 55 off throttle really helps me. You can run 56 if you feel the car's a little unstable. It's all perfectly fine. In the rain, just a quick caveat here, quick note here, you can run 54, dropping the differential, off throttle differential by 1%. Really helps to get the car stable and rotated in the wets. And when it comes to the wets as well, if it's gonna be, say, a full wet race, I prefer a 9.9 from my practice race. That's perfect because on 6.8 usually you get a normal kind of balance in Silverstone, which is pretty okay. But in the wets, it turns into a slow to medium speed kind of circuit where you'll definitely need a bit more aero to get the car turned in. You can run 8.8 if it's a full inter session, or if it's a mixed conditions where there's going to be dry and wet. If it's going to be fully wet, let's say wets to inters all the way, or inters to wets all the way, or either one of the weathers, right? 9.9 is just nice, and ERS regen is pretty much unlimited in the wet, so you can spam all you want on the straights. Yeah, so that's the quick little trick if you want to adjust this setup for wet. So 6.8 in the dries, 8.8 or 9.9 in the wets or inters. 54 you can use that in the wets. Dries, keep it 55 and above, otherwise your car will just lose traction, lose stability in the corners. Now on to the suspension geometry. Once again, right, left, left, left. This is pretty much standard. You can of course play around if you need a bit more high speed grip. If your car is understeering on high speed, let's say Stowe or Cops even, right? Those corners where you pretty much have to go very fast. So you can increase the camber a bit, but just be mindful, because if you put too much camber in your car, on the front camber, you're gonna be losing a bit of stability on the exit, or even in the entry. It may turn in, but it may not be stable. So 2.5, it's pretty much the best way to go about this. Everything else is just standard. Rear camber, maybe 1 or 2 clicks more if you really feel the car is unstable in slow speed, but otherwise don't go any more than that. Suspension, this is where you, again, as always, extract the most time and make the car feel the way you want it. So if you look at let's say let's just load up some top times from the TT and see the difference, why those times are quick. So let's say take someone recent in 2022. Let's use time. Okay, let's see. So for the esports, or the aliens, like we like to call it, right? So I mean, they have a pretty much the same setup, right? 6.8 wings, 90, 53. Yeah, of course they can handle a very loose car, so that's why I've adjusted to suit mine. Suspension geometry, front toe, they like it pointy. This is pretty helpful in qualifying, or if you're just doing 5 lappers, it's okay. But in the race, your car is going to get too pointy. It also induces a lot more tire on the fronts. The fronts do wear out quite heavily in Silverstone. regardless of whatever you do on the setup. So that's the nature of the circuit. So keep it like this. It should be stable, it should be quick. In qualifying, because it's park firm, you can't change anything, so you might as well keep the setup optimized for the race. Suspension like they have, it's a 1.8 1.7. You know, you just try out these two different setups, you'll instantly know why I go with my setup, because it's a bit more stable. It's for the race, right? In qualifying, this is perfect. Ideally I want this setup for qualifying so that I can throw the car around. But you know, it's going to be very unstable. Rear suspension is very high. Roll bar is kind of where I'd like it with the current setup that I have. And then brakes standard. Tire pressures, again, it comes down to personal preference, but usually you want to run maximum rear. Right, whatever. So let's go back to our setup and show you the difference. So tire pressures, I'm running 23.4 on the front. This is again personal preference. You have to test this out when you are in your races. So if you are practicing with the soft tires with maximum fuel load, this is where you'll find out what is the maximum tire temperatures you're going to be getting throughout the stint, right? So I found out that running 23.4 is the max that I can go, and also, you know, it helps with a bit more tire wear. If you're running like in alternate strategy in Silverstone, say like a medium to soft, definitely put it higher so that you can extend the life of your softs, sorry, the life of your mediums, at least on the fronts, probably by 2 or 3% more, 2 or 3% less wear in the entire stint. It still helps a lot. Maybe even 5 to 10, you don't know, depending on how you drive, and you know, if you're stuck in traffic, you can save tires a bit more. Otherwise, 23.0 is usually the safe point. 22.6 is also okay if you're getting excessive overheating. Yeah, it might be due to scrubbing, it might just be everywhere else of the setup is loose. Brakes 150 standard, and the suspension 1.1 gives you the best traction as always. I kind of, you know, you can say I have a tendency to go for this kind of an approach for the suspension setup. 1.1 just gives you the best traction. You can also get traction from the rear roll bar. It's just personal preference whether you want to get it from suspension, soft suspension, or soft roll bars. I prefer the soft suspension. It also helps while you're taking curbs so the car does not unsettle. 1.5 on the roll bars. 5 is just again how I feel the car. If I need the car to turn in more, I'll increase the roll bar. If I need the car to, you know, oversteer less, you know, but still turn enough on the rear, I'll probably drop it down to 4. You can do this for the rain. Let's say it's a full inters or full wets race. You definitely drop down the anti-roll bar by 1. This will help a lot with the car stability and traction out of the corners. Ride height, I tried 1.6, but given that Silverstone has a lot of high-speed corners, you want to take it you know, at pretty much flat for some corners like Cobbs, and then Stowe you're taking in 6 gears. It's pretty high speed, so if you run a little too low on the rear, your car is going to bottom out. You can try it. I would not recommend, but if you find good results, go ahead with it. Otherwise, 7 is a pretty good ride height clearance for the car. 1 on the front, again, it's just to make the car pointy. The lower you go on the ride height, the pointier it gets. If you need a bit of stability in the setup, you know, let's say you want the car to be really loose, you can even do something like 1.1 1.7 for example, you know, or even let's say something crazy like we had earlier, right? You can do this, and then to counter off all that overstay, you can increase the front ride height. This will give you a little bit of boost in straight line speed. At the same time, it will reduce the oversteer while you're cornering. You have to try this out. It may not work exactly as you want. If not, it just revert to normal settings that you always like. Okay, so let's go over it one more time before we end it. Here's the setup. 6.8 in the dries. I prefer to keep it 6.8 all the way, regardless if it's mediums or softs, because I do not want to wear out the front tires. You can choose to start on 7.8. Let's say you're starting on mediums or softs, regardless, right? On heavy fuel, if you feel you need a bit more front grip, you can run 7.8, and then in the pit stops you can drop it down to 6. Transmission 90, 55. You can run 100 for qualifying. I prefer to keep it at 19 qualifying as well. 50. Did I say 55? Whatever. Okay, I said 100 for on throttle. You can drop it to 90 in the qualifying, in the race, and off throttle. Yes, this is the one, the important one, where it also affects your rotation on the rear. If you put it lower, the rear is gonna rotate more. But if you put it too low like this on 50, it's gonna just kick out the rear. That means you're gonna get a lot of oversteer. So 55 Silverstone is perfect. 54, you can do this in the wets or in this, so you can adjust this accordingly. If it's a qualifying session, you can definitely adjust this in park firmware as well. So every time you come back into the pits, you can adjust this. So maybe, maybe on the first inters run you go on 55, and then you feel, yeah, you need a bit more turning on the rear. The rear needs to rotate a bit more. It's too stiff. You can drop it down by 1, and then you go out again. Otherwise, stick to 55. It's pretty safe. Right, left on the suspension geometry. I'd say this is good. Suspension, as you've seen, 11, 15, 17. For the rain, if you really want to maximize your rain setup, you can drop this down to 4 on the rear roll bar. Otherwise, keep it at 5. For the dries, brakes 150 all the way through for the dries and the wets. Tire pressures, I keep it the same, 20.4 on the front, 23.5 on the rear for race, regardless if it's wets, inters or dries. For qualifying on the soft tires, you can consider lowering the front pressure by 1 click if you get overheating, let's say on your first run. So you go out first run, tire overheats on the front, you're not gonna get the ideal grip, right? So you can come back to the pits and drop by 1, even 2 if you need so. So time your runs properly, and you can optimize your setup accordingly. And again, tire pressures you can change during park firming. So in between of quali runs, you can come back into the pits and change it. And while you're on the grid before the race starts, before the formation lap, you can also change this. But keep it like this. Rear pressures, keep it high so that your car is stable, reduces the wear. On the front, go as high as you can to minimize the tire wear, but do not go too high, otherwise your tire temps will shoot up, and that will cause extra tire wear. So there's a bit of a balance there. Right, that's about it for the setup. So I'll be live right about the time I upload this, so head down to the description. You can see my link of the Twitch channel, and I will see you all there. If you're there, say hi, I came from YouTube, or whatever you want to say. And let's hope we have a good British GP today. We kind of had a messy Austrian GP last time out, despite having probably the outright pace, but we messed it up. And hopefully we learn from our lessons, and we will be back pretty strong in Silverstone. So see y'all everyone, take care, and goodbye.